What's up, guys? I'm going to be breaking down what men have to look forward to in dating. So, what's funny is that people make fun of red pill guys. People call red pill guys incels. People call them like bitter. People call them like, you know, every name in the book for telling the truth about women. And what I attribute that to is just denial, is just straight up put your head in the sand, ignore facts. I even think to some degree that people are manipulated by the devil, really, to not see the truth about what's really going on in society. How can you not? And I used to really question that, as like, why don't other people see that? And obviously, in the red pill community, people do see that. That's why we make these videos. But like, one thing that I don't get is like, why is that not a universal thing where like everybody's like, oh yeah, this is totally wrong, or like, why don't we see this? There's so many people in denial, and I view it as like it's just the Bible calls it a system of error or something like that. It's a system of manipulation, really. And there's a verse in the Bible that says the ruler of this age has blinded their thoughts, something like that. You can Google it. But really, what that means is that the devil manipulates people's thinking to where they're blind to the truth. And if you don't have a base of the truth, I was watching. I don't actually know this guy's name, but he's a red pill guy, and I think his channel is called The Tribe or something like that. Tribe of Men. I think his channel is called Tribe of Men. He's actually very popular, but he's from Romania, and I had a friend from Romania a couple years ago who was just had a good heart, and like, me growing up in the United States and just having constantly, even making guy friends is really difficult. Quality guy friends is really, really difficult. I know they're out there, but it's like, it's to the point where I've become a loner in my life where like I don't it does have to do with not trusting, but it's also like it's a combination of a bunch of different things. Like, well, first of all, I'm a Christian, and I think that God wants me to be separated from worldly friendships. There's a Bible. There's a verse in the Bible that says, be separated for what is light. What fellowship is there between light and darkness? I think it's in the book of Romans. It might be in First Corinthians, where it talks about it says do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers, right? So that's something that I've always had friends growing up my whole life, but it never worked out, and I could never figure out why. Then at a certain point, I realized like it's probably because I'm a believer. I'm called out. It's probably because God wants me to be different. So I had this friend from Romania, and like like I said, that guy Tribe of Men, he has a show on YouTube, pretty popular. He's from Romania, and uh, this guy was like just really pure hearted, right? And so I'm trying to figure out like why is it it's because he comes from a farm on Romania in Romania, and I'm like, why aren't there people like this in America anymore? And why is America just going down? I mean, I was born in the 80s, kind of grew up in the 90s myself. Like, I remember people used to be more pure. Even in the 90s, people were starting to get corrupted. We had rap music, culture was changing. But it just seems like the last 10, 15 years, it's been rapidly declining. And it makes sense. Everything we're talking about, in the. Why was I talking about Tribe of Men? I think I lost a point somewhere in there. Anyway, Tribe of Men. What was I talking about him for? He made a point, and I forget the point that he made. Anyway, somewhere, everything got lost in the sauce. Not only am I speaking, but in society, like, we can see it. Why is, the normie not seeing it? And maybe there's no point of reference. I don't know, but why is there so many NPCs out there? Maybe there's no point of reference, meaning maybe you don't have the truth in you to see, to be able to see the truth. I think that's the point I was going to make about Tribe of Men, was that, like, here's a guy, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, why is this guy so based in reality? Why is this guy so out of the matrix? And then you realize, oh, he's from Romania. And you look at somebody like, let's say, Andrew Tate, even though he's got his big faults, he's still somebody who's able to see the truth, digest it, and regurgitate it so that people can understand it. Well, he's had a lot of suffering in his life. His parents divorced, and he was poor, and he grew up in certain types of ghettos in the UK, and people tried to stab him. He's been through all kinds of stuff. You realize, like, when you go through trials and tribulations in life, it makes you real. When you suffer, it makes you real. Yes, that's true, but it's also, I believe, too, to some degree, like, to leave the matrix. To me, the matrix is the world system, the cosmos. It's really Egypt in typology. Egypt, back in the book of Exodus, Pharaoh had all these slaves. Moses was a type of Christ to come and save them. It's metaphorical as well as literal. It really happened, but it's also a spiritual principle. We're being saved. Jesus is our Morpheus, right? Anyway, so you almost have to have the truth in you in order to see the truth. What blows my mind a lot too is that, and I'll talk to people, every now and then, and they'll be like, yeah, man, it's getting bad out there, and oh, da, da. So there are people who see, but it's like, if you're part of that system, it's like, it's a system of error, and it's a system in the flowing sense. It's a current. They call it the tide of the age, or the current. You could be swept up by the current, man. You could be, if you're living wrong, or you're being satiated. It's one thing to not be successful. It's actually a blessing in a way to not be successful, because you're not satiated. When you're satiated, you're numb. You become numb when you're satiated. You become numb. You're like, I'm full. I'm partaking of this thing, and you get caught up in the fervor of the flow and the current of the current age and the tide of the age. And it's something to stand against that. It's something to go the opposite way. I think Abraham Lincoln said, if you're swimming upstream, that's the right direction. If you find resistance in the direction that you're going, that's the correct direction. Because if you're just going with the flow, you're going with the tide of the age, you're going to get swept up. You're going to get swept up in the drug. You're drugged. You're drugged by the age. And this always goes back to the red pill. This always goes back to leaving the matrix. And for me, it was a salvation experience. I feel like that's the best way, because what is creating the cosmos, Egypt, is Pharaoh. And who's Pharaoh? Satan. Satan is the ruler of this age. The Bible says he's the ruler of this age, right? So if he's ruling people, he's controlling their minds. He's the one who's pulling the strings in the matrix. He's turning the wheel that is the machine, the mechanics of the matrix. He's making all this stuff happen. He's the one who's supplying people with their drugs, social media, sex, porn, hookups, real drugs. Who's doing all that? It's Satan. Satan's the one who's supplying it. He's the one who is manipulating and poisoning people to go away from the truthful things and the real and the genuine things, such as family, traditional values, morals, God, right? Raising quality children, living a quality life, which I know is not for everybody. I'm not saying everybody needs to. It's not like you have to. Oh, if you don't have kids, you're a tool of Satan or something. Not everybody has to have kids, but the point is that we live in a different era now. This era is poison, and we live in a current and a tide that is flowing towards destruction, man, straight up. So everybody comes to the red pill, and they're like, or not, I shouldn't say everybody comes to the red pill, but when people hear red pill guys speaking the truth, it's like, oh, you're just talking crap, or like, what's wrong with you? Why can't you find a quality girl, or why can't you, oh, I found a love and I'm married, or why not you? And it's like, I'm not saying it's not happening, but this is what's out here, this type of video. So let's watch, and then I got some things to talk about within this video, but let's watch this. This is the reason why we make red pill videos. This is the reason, and we see it now more than ever because somebody gave these women an iPhone, and somebody gave them TikTok, and somebody gave them social media. So now they're putting out all these little videos crying and whining about how men don't want them, this, that, and the third. And what's crazy is that they're so blinded. They're not hiding it anymore. And I've said this before, and I'll probably say it again, is that when you put a camera in front of a woman and she starts talking, the truth comes out. And you can learn from that, and it's female nature. So it's not even just some guy, some red pill guy speaking these things. I've spoken a million of these videos, but everything I've said becomes substantiated sooner or later. Everything I've ever said, I've been making these videos for like 5 years, since like 2017, 2018. Everything that I've said, I've probably made, I don't know, a couple hundred of these videos by now. Who knows? My channel's pretty big. I don't get a lot of views, I understand that, but point is I still speak the truth, and I've been speaking this stuff, like I said, 4 or 5 years. Everything that I've said is always substantiated in reality, in real life, consistently, habitually. It's being acted out. I know, because this is behavior. What I base my red pill truths on is consistent behavior, not just something like, well, this happened to me and it's a fluky thing. No, this stuff is happening all the time. This is how these people and these women are behaving. This is how relationships happen. This is what's going on, because this is what not only I'm experiencing, but what other men are experiencing. So let's watch this and break it down some. But again, I just, it's funny because whenever I'm online or whenever I'm talking to some girl or something about this, they always try to make it about me. It's always about me. Like, oh, well, you must just pick the wrong. I remember like 2023? I remember like 10, 15 years ago when I first got on Facebook, and I was first kind of like having some bad relationships here and there. I would speak on stuff about what I was experiencing. This was like 2009, 8, 2010, and I would by that time I was having like maybe my 4th or 5th bad relationship back then. Starting to see patterns, starting to get red pilled, right? Slowly leaving my blue pill stage, slowly leaving my belief in like true love and all that. Clunkily, right? Clunking along, painfully leaving the matrix. And I would sometimes share stuff, and what invariably they'd always say is like, oh, you just are picking the wrong girl, or there's somebody out there for you, or like, you'll find the right one eventually, or like, and then it started to become blame a couple years after that. It started to become like 2012, 13, 14, started to become blame, like, oh, you must be the problem, or you're just this, or you're just that. And even that was a pattern, right? It's like, but what they couldn't do, and I want to make a video about Rollo Tomasi on Dr. Phil, because I think I'm going to do that next. But they switch it from males as victims, which it's sad to talk about, but it is true. Men are victims of emotional abuse. Men are victims of social abuse. Men are victims of women socially and in relationships. It sounds corny. It sounds like a pussy thing to say. Like, it sounds like a corny thing to say. Like, oh, men are victims of women, really? Oh, boo-hoo. And it's like, but the reality is it's true. Women are psychological terrorists in a lot of ways, man. And it's not anything that should incite anything, or it has nothing to do with violence, has nothing to do with like revenge or anything like that. I'm just saying men get abused, men get screwed over by women. In this video, you'll see a lot of that, but we don't talk about it. And Rollo Tomasi goes on Dr. Phil and he tries to say, well, you know, men don't have a support system. Men don't have the social resources to get over, to the social resources and the social help to get over being totally demolished in a breakup, when their heart gets ripped out by some woman who just, you know, monkey branches onto some guy that she thinks is better or something like that. You know, these are things that we go through. This is why like MGTOW was a big thing, you know, 10 years ago. Guys are like, dude, I want no part of this, you know. So but he talked about, he was talking about suicide, and then what they did was they flipped it on him, and they started to like make it like he was some kind of woman hater, and he was just speaking the truth. He was speaking the facts. Men are committing suicide way more than women. Why? Because we don't have the social help. We don't have, we get demolished emotionally. We get screwed by women in divorce court and this, that, and the third, right? He started to bring that up on Dr. Phil, and they're like turning, you know, twisting it around on him. But the evidence is there. The evidence is not only statistically, but just in all these videos, and this is what we see. And it's like, what's not happening is no one's like, hey, let's raise better daughters. Hey, let's teach these women how to treat men right. Hey, let's instill morals in our children. Let's fight against this degeneracy push from pornography and tender hookup culture and the horrible music they're listening to and drug culture and all this stuff. Let's fight against this with the antithesis of that: morals, God, traditional values, hard work and discipline. And somebody like Andrew Tate comes along and they freaking try to cancel him. They do cancel him, but of course you couldn't. They can't cancel him because he's taken over the algorithm. But they tried, you know, and it's like, and again, I'm not saintizing Andrew Tate per se. I'm not turning him into a saint, but he spoke a lot of the truth. He came along and said, hey, this is, men are getting screwed. This is not a fun place to be a man. And what did they do? They shouted him down and they hated him. Now he set himself up, because obviously he's a walking contradiction, because his moral speech about men is very much tainted by his own personal life, which is anything but moral, and the way he makes money and the way he, you know, conducts his personal relationships. Nothing moral about that. But the reality is that they hate the guy for speaking the truth about female nature. They hate the guy for speaking the truth about the reality of what men go through in dating. And this is the same thing that red pill guys go through, just like Rollo Tomasi on Dr. Phil. You get up there and you say, hey, men are committing suicide, men need help. And what do? They flip it and turn it around and say, oh, why do you hate women? It's all about women being victims. And this is, to me, that's a system of error. That's a system of manipulation, and it's a dark system. To me, that's, if that's not evidence for the devil, I don't know what is. If that's not evidence for demonic interaction with human psyche and human behavior, I mean, you work for the dark side. If you can't see the truth, if you can't speak the truth, if you can't be an adherent to the truth, which is objective and it's right in front of people's faces. Men are suffering. It's freaking going on. Women are giving us the evidence. This isn't some like shadowy thing. It's all out in the open, man, right here in this video. These women got TikTok and they're out here telling on themselves. Put a camera in a woman's face, and what's she gonna do? She's gonna spill the beans. Oh yeah, I cheat. I'm leading guys on. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Guys are ghosting me. And it's like, we all know why. We know We know the mathematics of this. We understand why all of this is happening, and women pretend and act like they're clueless when in reality they're not clueless. They're in denial because there are men out here who are telling them the truth. There are men out here who are trying to get them to understand what we go through as a whole, and they still can't overcome their nature of hypergamy and you know, whatever you want to call it, natural selection or whatever. But and I'm not saying you need to lower your standards per se. That's not my point. My point is that you don't have to be promiscuous. You don't have to be a bad person. You don't have to be a liar and a manipulator. But it's like they, for some reason, can't do it. They just can't abstain from uh, living this degenerate life. And so I look at it like it's a current. That's the matrix. It's a downward current. It's a spiral, a vortex that is sucking people down, and there's got to be some kind of force behind it, right? So enough of the spiritual talk per se, even though it's all true. Let's get into the evidence. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the evidence of what's going on right here. This little 5-minute video.
I take birth control for him so he can hit it raw and he can't even invite me to the bar? Damn.
That's a joke, huh? It's a joke. Her friend's laughing that her friend is sleeping around. I mean, like, just and this is all a joke. Do you know? Do they think their, parents are proud? Where are their parents? It's a joke to everyone watching, and they put this online. They took a video of it. It's just sad. That's just sad. Like, not married to the guy, taking birth control so she doesn't get pregnant, and he doesn't even care about her enough to invite her somewhere, and he goes out to a bar without her, and her friend thinks it's a joke. Are these winners? Are these good mothers? You know what I'm saying? Like, hello, this is the evidence. This is right here. This is what's going on.
Fun fact, guys are only friends with girls we find attractive.
Is that true? Is that true?
You gotta be naive.
Y'all, this is a fucking...
Are you really that naive to think that guys are really interested in women? Like, women aren't funny. They're not interesting. They're vapid. They're shallow. They're not deep. They're not well read. They're not incredibly intelligent. They just complain all the time. They all they do is talk about guys who don't want them. Like, what is interesting about women? Why would guys be friends with women? It doesn't make any sense. There's nothing interesting about them. Seriously, what is interesting? Is she into, like, Plato, Shakespeare, Socrates? Is she into classic books? Is she into chess? Is she into, okay, some girls are into chess, but it's rare, which is cool. I mean, I like that, that some girls, I mean, that's attractive, but it's so rare that, like, it becomes attractive. It's not common. It's not, it's like, what is interesting about, why would a guy be friends with a woman if he didn't hope to someday hit that? It's crazy to me. It's crazy that women have the audacity to really think that they're that interesting. To really think that and really, I don't even know what that is, because it's got to be narcissism. It's got to be ego. Because, like, why are you friends with guys? Because you want the attention. You really think they're your friends? Deep down, you probably know they want to sleep with you. You're just not admitting it. Except maybe there's some clueless ones like that girl. But, I mean, what is interesting about girls? I had never understood that. My whole life, it's like, why would you be friends with a girl? Like, seriously, what is interesting about girls? I'm not saying there's not smart girls. I'm not saying there's not fun girls. And yes, maybe I would say you could be like buddies with a girl. maybe there are some ones out there who are like really smart, and you might want to marry that girl if she's really interesting, if she's really smart, you know. And in that sense, like, why should you be friends with a girl unless, you know, if you find one who's really smart and interesting and fun and funny, you might want to marry her. It's just weird to me that like people are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be friends with a girl. Like, for what? What do you have in common? It's not the same. Your whole makeup is different. Your men are not emotionally based. We're rationally based. Yes, we joke, and women can joke, but women are sensitive. Women don't joke the way we joke. Women don't, you know, not, you know, again, not saying it can't happen genuinely, but it's just rare. Like, most guys have an agenda. Like, secretly they want to get with you, and most girls have an agenda. Secretly, they know the guy wants to get with them, and they like the attention. That's pretty much like 99% of it. Clueless. But anyway, I don't want to get off track talking about something dumb.
That ruined my day.
Genius.
Gotcha, bitch.
Genius.
What would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 through 10?
An 8.
An 8?
Yeah.
Stop the cap.
I bet you think other people gonna agree?
I think so.
I bet. Hey, what would you rate this girl on a scale of 1 through 10?
Tripping.
4. A 4?
So I flew on a one-way flight to Europe for this guy. I've known him for like 10 days. We had this whirlwind romance, met him at the farmer's market. It was a vibe. I get to Europe. I'm not in the city he's in yet, but I'm in Barcelona. I'm going to Berlin. He lives in Berlin. I've been invited to live in Berlin with him for the summer, and I'm all, you know. So I'm in Barcelona. The night before my flight, he FaceTimes me. Hey, Soph, I met someone else. Don't come to Berlin.
Rejected. What's my...
That's funny. And she probably didn't even know that guy. She probably never even met the guy. She probably, you know, just talked with them on social media, saw his pictures. He was hot. He probably had nothing better to do. And then he met someone else. And what's funny is she's acting like she's just been wronged. She's acting like she's just been accosted or something, when in reality women do that all the time, and they've been doing that all the time for years and years and years and years. If a woman, I mean, I can't tell you how many girls, like, I got their number, talking to them for a little while, and then they just ghosted me. And the reason why was because they found another dude. They found a dude who was hotter than me. Period. The end. That's it. They found a dude who was better than me, had a nicer car than me. That's it. And it goes both ways. It's not quite the same, because guys, we're sex motivated. We're not success motivated. We're not necessarily climbing the ladder motivated like women are. Women are, their biology is very opportunistic. It's based on hypergamy. So they are going to easily jump monkey branch onto another guy and leave you in the dust if they find somebody more interesting or more attractive or piques their interest more, whatever, better than you, more money than you, whatever. They are going to drop you at the sign of a hat. It's more rare for guys to drop because guys don't have unlimited access to sex, although the top tier guys do. And so if she's like a 6, like that girl, or maybe I give that girl a 6.5, you got a lot of competition, girl. He's easily gonna find a guy who's a 7.5, a girl who's a 7.5, a girl who's a 8, 9, 10, and he's gonna leave you in the dust.
A toxic trait? Thanks for asking. It's the fact that I can make you come, but I can't make you stay.
Oh, say less.
All she has to offer is sex. That's it. The reason why the reason why guys don't stick around is because you have nothing else to offer. All you have to offer is sex. That's it. You're a one-trick pony. You lure guys in with sex, but you got nothing else to offer, so they get bored, or they find out you don't have a good character. They find out you're not interesting. They find out you're shallow. You have no depth, and they don't want to stick around. That's it. Instead of working on herself, She'll just complain about men instead of getting better. And this is one thing guys are better at. Guys are better at improving their life. Guys are better at, okay, I need to level up. Guys are better at that. Women don't. They've only got one trick, and that's put on makeup. They've only got one trick, and that's to be attractive physically. That's their only trick. They don't ever develop a sense of humor. Tell me a woman who could make you laugh. I can't think of one. Very rare are women funny. Very rare are women dynamic. Very rarely are women charismatic. Very rarely are women intelligently humorous, uniquely charismatic, can carry a good conversation, have any depth. Very rarely, man. If a girl is boring, if a girl is shallow, you're just gonna get pumped and dumped. And this is what's funny, is that women are like, oh, guys only want sex, blah blah blah, and yet their own lives say different. The reason why guys aren't sticking around is because we want more than sex. Yeah, we'll hang out with you and we want sex, and once we get it, we're gone because we want more than sex. But women don't have the capability to understand nuance like that. They don't have the abstract thinking to understand that, hey, it's not all black and white. There's some gray area, and the gray area in this particular equation is that guys want more than sex. Yes, we want sex, but we want more than sex. And if you're not getting a guy to stick around, it's because that's all you have to offer.
1 in 3 males under the age of 30 has not had sex in the last 12 months. So in the U.S., what's happened with online dating is it's amazing for the top 10% of attractiveness of men. It's okay for the top half. It is a disaster for the bottom half. And when I say attractiveness, I mean by very crude metrics. So if your Tinder profile, I went to MIT, I just started a KKR, and my Rolex accidentally is visible in my profile picture, and I'm geolocated living in Manhattan or living in Beverly Hills, you're going to get a massive amount of attention. The bottom half, who are not able to express anything other than wealth, which they may not have, are totally shut out of the market. And the knock-on effect here is that we're producing too many of what is the most dangerous person in the world, and that is a young, broken, alone man.
There you go, man. That's hypergamy explained. That's what young men are going through. And most of us are basically locked out of the dating market, of the sex market, of the marriage market, because female nature is always expanding, female hypergamy within female nature is always expanding. And as the world gets more competitive, as success gets more gregarious, I think is the word I'm looking for, as it gets more out there, meaning like it's possible to make $1 billion now, like that's not out of the question, although it's extremely rare. It's possible. You know what I mean? What are you gonna do with your little 10-year-old car and your little 1-bedroom apartment? What are you gonna do? How are you going to get a decent looking girl when they're all hanging out on Leonardo DiCaprio's yacht? You know what I mean? And so right there, it's statistics, and we in the red pill, we speak this stuff, we know this stuff, we know the antithesis to it, we know the antidote to it. But nobody's listening. People don't want to listen when we say, hey, be more moral. Hey, learn how to treat men better. Hey, stop sleeping around. Hey, become a better person. Become a better wife. Become a better female. No one's listening. They're all just running after their own desires. And this is how Armageddon starts. This is how the end of the world starts. It's not that these type of men, these lonely men, are the ones who are going to be starting it. It's that this is a snowball effect. The more immoral society has become, the more people are going to fall into that downward current, because it's easy to go sleep around. It's hard to start a family. It's hard to work at love. It's hard work to create and maintain a loving relationship. It's hard work. It's easy to go on Tinder and go get some free dick. It's not easy to maintain a strong, loving household, particularly one that's God-fearing and moral. Come on, man. Like, that's hard work. People don't want to work hard anymore. We live in the microwave generation. We live in the paper plate generation. If it's not instant, I don't want it. And that's not how life is really supposed to be. Good things come with hard work. Good things come with, you know, no cheat codes. And people want the cheat codes. They're like, how do I become a millionaire? How do I become, what's the fastest way for me to get everything I've ever wanted? Well, it used to be people worked their whole life for it. It used to be people were looking for meaning. And yes, you can waste your life looking and searching for you know, fulfillment and everything you've ever wanted. And you can waste your life with pleasures and lusts and all these things, you know. And this is why I always say find God, because that's the best way to find an anchor, to have an anchor in your life, is to find God, because God's moral. God's has the real genuine answers. But you know, and there's something to be said for speed too. I get that. There's something to be said for doing things fast. It can be beneficial. You know, you don't want to sit around and waste your life on something that you know is not going to come. And I've done that. And I, well, it's because I didn't know it was not going to come. I was hoping that it would develop into something, you know, back when I wanted a career in sports, and it didn't. But I learned a big lesson from that too, is don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't you know, don't put all your eggs in one basket. If it doesn't work out, what do you have to fall back on? And so there's something to be said for like speed of things, you know. And I will say that this generation does get that right, but the problem is what their goals and their desires are not based on anything moral or traditional. It's really based on selfishness. It's based on pleasures. It's based on, because when you're raised by MTV Cribs, when you're raised by these degenerate modern celebrities who it's all they care about is money and riches and this, that, and the third, and there's a lot to be enticing within that. There's a lot that's enticing in this world, you know. Anyway, it's you know, just goes back to that matrix. The matrix. That's how you get stuck as a slave in the matrix, is you want what the matrix has to offer. It's like a honeycomb, or not even a honeycomb. It's like a Chinese, is it Chinese flytrap? Venus flytrap. There we go. It's like a Venus flytrap. It sucks you in with its beauty, and then you get stuck. You get stuck on the flower. You're trying to get what you want from it, and you get stuck on it. And it's like, you got to figure out a way to like be happy within it and enjoy certain smaller things on a smaller scale level, and don't sell your soul for the riches of it. Don't sell your soul for the pleasures of it. And, you know, maybe look at those things from afar, like, you know, like, I would like to live in a mansion, but I'm not going to work my whole life to do that. I'm not going to trade my soul to one day when I'm 80 own a mansion or something, or maybe you know, and this is what people you know, this generation thinks is like, oh, well, I want a mansion, but I want it in 2 years, and how it's like, it's not viable. It's like maybe for like 0.0000001% of people that might happen, but for the average Joe, man, nah, it ain't gonna work. And people have this idea that like, oh, you know, in 5 years I'll be this, and I got to make these moves and this, that, and then they end up just losing out on the happiness of today, because they're putting all their eggs in tomorrow's basket. Anyway, but yeah, like, you know, I like cool houses and I like traveling and things like that, but I don't. Photography and videography is so wonderful. And we have free internet today, or you know, obviously internet's not free, but I mean those videos and pictures are free on the internet. I just go and look at videos or pictures, and I'm like, okay, cool, that's a beautiful home, or that's enough for me. You know, it's like some people are like, well, I want to travel, I want to do all this, and then they forfeit their happiness today for that dream of tomorrow. But anyway, I'm totally getting off on a tangent as usual, but yeah, man. I mean, the average dude is has got no chance. The top 10%, I would even say the top 5 to 1% of guys are getting it all, and then you got these nasty girls. So let's keep going on, and we'll see what's out there. What's out there is like these women who are like 3s, 4s, and 5s, and they think they're 8s, 9s, and 10s, and they act like it, and it's because of scarcity in the market. It's just bonkers in the way that, you know, they're put on a pedestal. It's so crazy.
Anyone want to get married? Let's do it.
Hell no. To the no.
Let's go to Vegas. Start a family.
What's the craziest thing a guy's done to him?
I don't know.
Why are you running?
Yo, I just went to go get.
What is that woman talking about? Let's start a family. That's just mental illness right there, man. Like, she's probably 30, 32 maybe even. I mean, like, what is that? Let's start a family. Let's get married. Like, people who... There's an old saying, don't talk about it, be about it. If someone's talking about something like that, they're not about it, because they would have already done it 5, 10 years ago. No, you went and had your fun on the carousel, and now you're dreaming on TikTok about how you could be a wife, and it ain't viable anymore, because you're damaged, and you probably couldn't even do it. Even if you got married, you probably get divorced because you don't even know what it is to love. You don't even know what it is to be married. And your viewpoint, her viewpoint, she probably thinks marriage is like, oh, well, this knight in shining armor who has a castle and he's a prince is gonna come take me away, and it's gonna be this gorgeous life. This is what women think. Like, they don't think in practical terms. What's funny is they think in practical terms. They don't think in practical terms, and then when they do think in practical terms, they're crude about it, right? Either they're all the way thinking in practical terms to the point where they're like they're overly pragmatic, where it's like that's all they care about is like, well, what's this guy going to do for me financially, or they don't care about that at all, which is, the whole thing is weird. It's just like, you need to have some balance. Like, yeah, the guy's got to make some money, but he's also got to be a quality human being. And oh boy, you know, it's just, you can't fix it.
STD tested, and HIV and syphilis came back negative. The rest, I don't give a fuck.
Wow.
The rest, I don't give a fuck.
You're gonna save everything I fucking sent you, but you're not ready to date me? What? Like, I don't understand. Like, literally, I'm not talking to anyone else, and he's literally, like, emotionally, oh god, I literally can't. He saves every picture that he thinks that I look good in, and he talks to me all the time, and he kisses me like he fucking loves me, but he won't fucking date me? Like, what? Like, I literally don't understand.
You're talking to 2 guys right now.
More than 2. 5 men at the moment. Only 5.
She belongs to the streets.
Only 5.
You have to have a roster, like, that's how it is.
So are women even wifeable at this point?
Yes, I'm very wifeable.
So how's a guy expect to wife you if while he's talking to you, you're talking to 4 other dudes?
Well, I don't want to be wifed by any of the men I'm talking to.
So you're talking to 5 dudes at one time for what?
For fun. For the attention. No, I don't sleep around like that.
There you go, dude. Straight from the horse's mouth. I told you, put a camera in these girls' faces, and they are going to spill the beans on themselves. And the last girl was like, oh, he'll kiss me and do all this stuff, but he won't date me. And it's like, dear, you're not dateable. He doesn't want to date you because he just likes hitting it, and you don't have, he's got standards. You don't live up to the standards, and you're the girl for right now. You're the girl he wants for right now. And I'm not saying that's the right thing to do for a guy per se. I'm not saying that that's moral. It's not. But it's what a lot of guys got to do, because, you know, there's not quality options out there. And you can say, well, there's not. Well, women do. Then why is it bad if women do it? Because women have more than abundance of options, and women choose men for way different reasons. Women friend zone the guy who's got a good character. They friend zone the guy who's a quality dude, who's kind and generous and has all the wonderful qualities that you would want to spend the rest of your life with. They friend zone that guy because he's boring, and they chase the bad boy because he's toxic and that's attractive to them for some reason. Totally different scenario. Whereas with guys, we're like, yeah, we'll sleep with the toxic girl, but we don't want to marry that girl. We want to marry the girl who's got substance. We want to marry the girl who's got morals. But where is she? None of them have it. They don't have morals and substance. Oh, it's the catch-22. Right? And then the very next girl proves what I just said. She's like, oh, I'm talking to 5 guys and I'm not sleeping with any of them. I'm not dating any of them. I don't give it up, but I'm talking to them. So you're leading them on. So you're fake. You're phony. You got a pound of makeup on. You think it's a joke that you're leading 5 guys on. That 5 guys want to sleep with you. 5 guys want to have a relationship with you. And you're just talking to them. You're a phony manipulator. And then they wonder, oh, why don't guys ever want to date me? Because you're phony. Because you're... It's just like, where are your fathers? Where are your parent figures? They're supposed to be raising you better. They're supposed to be teaching you to be honest. They're supposed to, and it's like, you got to wonder, did just this whole generation have bad parents? Did this whole generation, or is it female nature? That's something that I just don't know. Maybe a little bit of both. They like the game. They like the deception. They like the manipulation. They like the power they have over men. And they think it's a joke. And they wonder why nobody wants to marry them. Nobody quality that they want wants to marry them. Or they chase the absolute toxic guys, and then they friend zone the nice guys, and then they wonder why they're not married. Then they wonder why they can't find love. It's like, you're not very bright, man. Anyway, this is basic stuff. This is stuff we talk about in the Red Pill. This is basic Red Pill 101, and they still can't graduate from it. It's funny.
This is for my future partner. What took you so long? What was the holdup? You busy sleeping with someone else? You cheater? This is why I'm gonna sleep with your best friend and not even feel guilty. I don't even care if it's your dog.
Crazy.
Of course we can be friends. I love being friends with people that saw me naked a few times and then decided they wanted nothing to do with me after.
Can someone explain to me?
Okay. So here's a thought. Maybe keep your clothes on until you find love. Maybe don't sleep around with guys who you don't know if they want to love you. How about that? Is that such a crazy concept? But they can't do it, and they don't do it.
Yes, I know I look crazy right now. I've been crying in my car for like 30 minutes. But can someone explain to me why all men suck?
Women.
I've been talking to a guy. We've been texting. It was great. He said, I'm 5 minutes away from picking you up. I got all dressed up for our date, and boom, I'm blocked.
Probably because you have no personality. Probably because you look like a different person without makeup on. And maybe you got a good heart somewhere in there, but I'll bet you the guy wasn't even real. I'll bet you it was just some catfish dude who was mad that girls ghosted him, so he made a fake account and then ghosted you so you'd cry. And he's laughing that you're crying now, probably. I mean, karma, man. You treat guys like dirt, you walk all over us, and then when you get some of that back, you cry about it. you know, and it's like, welcome to how we feel, you know, welcome to how we've been feeling for 30, 40 years or however since you started playing the game, or maybe forever. I don't know. You know, I mean, I don't know. I've only been here since the 80s. I've only been on this earth since the 80s, so. And I know my whole life that's been happening to me. Girl gives me her number, talking to me for a while, all of a sudden, she's gone, she ghosts. Oh, I'm not cool enough, I'm not bad boy enough, I'm not whatever enough, she found somebody else, whatever. And you think that girl feels any remorse for me? Heck no. So why should we feel any remorse for you? You know, it's like, and I get it that I just don't. It's just like, you know, the other thing is you have so many options. You're crying over one guy probably because he was the hottest guy you've ever talked to, and you're crying over this guy, and you've never even met him, which is crazy in and of itself. Like, I mean, you cry over somebody that you know for a year, but you never even met a guy and you're crying over him because he ghosted you. And it's like, how many times does that happen to guys? Do girls care when that happens to us? No. Next. Oh, shit. Let me find out when my...
For like 30 minutes. But can someone explain to me why all men suck?
Again, all men. Why do all men, even though you're probably friend zoning and ignoring like 50 guys. That's probably not even, I mean, like, probably in the last 5 years, 500 guys. All men is the top 10, top 5, top 1% of guys who good looking, tall, money, Chad type males, successful. Women want them, and then they wonder when you look like you're maybe a 5 out of 10, even with makeup on. You wonder because, oh well, God, I don't understand. All the guys want to have sex with me, but why do I get ghosted by the kind of guys that I want? It's like they got no logic, man. It's like, all right, you know, it's like we all know, we all get it.
Amen.
I've been talking to a guy. We've been texting. It was great. He said, I'm 5 minutes away from picking you up. I got all dressed up for our date.
You're a 5 out of 10. You're a 5 out of 10.
He stood me up.
There's better looking women out there.
And I don't understand why
you have no personality.
Men treat good women like shit.
Who says you're a good woman? Who says you're a good woman? What is that based on? Who says you're a good woman? You? What makes you a good woman? How are you showing it? Guys can say, I'm a good guy, and what do women do? They're like, oh, yeah, you know, what do women do when guys say, oh, I'm a good guy? Like, they're skeptical about it. They don't believe it. They want you to show it. And how are you showing it? Well, I'm the prize. I'm the table. All I got to do is show up. Next. You're not even hot. Like, I mean, it's just reality escapes them, man. That's all.
I pay for your friends. I buy you some most expensive seafood. And you're telling me you're not going to come with us to the party. N'importe quoi. You know, the moment the man lays down his car, okay, he's paid for something. He has the right to take the women with him.
I don't know what this guy's talking about. This guy's problem is like that's not how things work. It's not how life works. But yeah, don't pay for anything for women. That's particularly when you're expecting like them to do something for like what is that, like prostitution? Like no, that's not reality. Reality isn't that you pay for them and they do whatever you want. But in reality, you shouldn't pay for women for anything.
When I pay for something.
Excuse me. I'm calling you. Sir, do you live here?
Who the fuck are you, bitch?
I don't remember you moving into this neighborhood. I'm talking to you, sir. Who are you and who'd you come in to visit? Because I don't know you.
Creepy. Creepy.
I need to know where you're going.
I need to know where you're going. That shit. Oh man, that made me laugh. That makes me laugh. Yeah, that's creepy. Like, why would you need to know everybody who walks down your street? Like, can you imagine how paranoid this woman is on a day-to-day basis? Like, imagine living with a woman like that. Imagine that being your mother or like somebody you lived with. Like, paranoid to like where you have to know everything about everyone who's walking down the street. Like, that's kind of mental illness, really. That's kind of sad, actually. But and she's good looking too, man. Boy, people need God, man. The world is going down, man. The world is going down. And we're watching it in real time. We are watching it crumble. And it's corroding from the inside out. Moral values are gone. Logic, sensibility, intelligence is gone. It's going down. People are falling off the deep end, man. People need God. That's what it comes down to. And people, in my comment section be like, oh, we're always talking about God, but that's because God's the answer, man. It's the answer. We know the truth, but the truth, even though the Bible says the truth will set you free, God is truth, right? And if people don't come to God as the truth, then they'll never be set free, I feel. Man, I wish everybody the best. And it's just sad that, we're living in this time that we I think we missed the correct generation. Was probably the last generation, was the baby boomers, or before that, they were the best generation, and they knew about love. They knew how to maintain love and marriage. And that's not to say that they didn't have their faults and their hardships and whatever, but as a whole, man, that they're beating us. They're beating us as a whole, man. They knew how to raise families. Well, again, they had their faults, but I don't know. Can you look back? Can we feel sad about the past? I don't know, man. We got to live in our own reality, and I say be happy with what you got. I say pursue God. I say, work on yourself. I've always said this: work on yourself, improve, but don't do it so that you can just go get a woman or whatever, because that's playing into hypergamy. Make sure that she lives up to your standards. Make sure that she has all the qualities that you would want in a woman. And if you can't find it, then just stay single, because it ain't worth settling, in my opinion. It ain't worth the headache. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. A lot of guys just cuck up and lay down and settle for these subpar women who want to run the show, who want to introduce all these degenerate ideas. Like, anyway, I need to get into that, but they want to secretly push feminism behind the scenes. It's just like, there's order, man. There's order. God created order in the universe. At least for now, men are leading, and it should be that way in the family unit. Women like to be submissive. Women like male leadership. If you can't find that, if you can't find a woman who is peaceful and brings you peace and gives you, the first say in a way, if she comes to you like, hey, what does my husband think? I mean, if you can find that, you probably found a pot of gold, because it's not that you rule. It's not that you're controlling or anything close to that. It's that she's her peace, and you're her rock, and it's so distorted how people twist that into like, oh, well, my guy needs to be this alpha male ubermensch kind of guy, and he needs to do all, and it's like, it's such a performance. But I think there's a natural course to that, where a woman comes to a guy who is just strong and not strong in any kind of manosphere, weirdo, YouTube way, but really strong in prayer, strong in God, and strong in, truth. And she helps him and he helps her, and they love each other and they're each other's peace. When does that happen? You know, how does that ever happen? People always got agendas. People are always manipulating. People are always pretending and lying. And it's just like, it gets to a point where you're like, I want to be out of it. I want to get out of this matrix. I'm going to go MGTOW. I'm going to go monk mode. I'm going to get out of here, you know? For me, that escape was God, and it still is. You know, I just kind of hermit away and seek God, man. Seek that the peace and the righteousness that results in a life of fellowship and walking with God and reading the Bible, you know. And to me, that's my escape, and to me that's peace, you know. Because we see in these videos, we see what it is, man. We see what it is out there, and it's like, why even bother? Why even go out there and try to mix with that? You're gonna get burned. You're gonna get caught up in something. You're gonna get hurt. You're gonna get something. Really, you know, when I was young, I was a bull in a china shop. I would just run in and rush into all these relationships, rush into like sex, rush into like all this stupid stuff, and it was a mistake, man. All of it was a mistake, and I got hurt and I got burned, but I learned, and that's one thing about the fire is you learn. Heat makes you learn. You learn, man, and it ain't nothing good. And it's like, I envy guys who found really quality women, and I'm like, dang, why not me? You know, I'm like, dang, you know, but it's rare. It's rare. But when I see him, I'm like, dang, you lucked out, buddy. You lucked out, because out here there's just a pile full of trash, man. You're sifting through the trash. You think you're not going to get some residue on you? Good luck, buddy. But anyway, appreciate you guys listening. It's been Jay Lee, Northwest Podcast. Peace.